I sat in my car outside the base gate, engine off, dress blues still crisp from the ceremony 3 hours earlier. The Defense Meritorious Service Medal rested on the passenger seat, ribbon catching the amber glow of the parking lot lights. My phone screen lit up with another notification. The number climbed steadily. 847,291 views. I hadn't watched the video. The Air Force Public Affairs Office posted it 2 days after the ceremony. Standard procedure for quarterly awards. A 12-minute clip. Opening remarks, my name called, the handshake with Colonel Miller, polite applause from a room full of uniforms and families I didn't know. Except now the view count kept rising. Someone had shared it, then someone else, then it jumped platforms. My phone vibrated. Jennifer, my sister, 3 years older, a lifetime ahead in everything that mattered to our parents. I answered. Her voice came through sharp, confused, like she'd been running. Sarah, what the hell is this video? General Brooks just mentioned you on CNN, on actual CNN. She called you a hero. People are asking me if you're my sister. I kept my voice level. Did you watch the ceremony video? Yes, just now, at dinner. We're at Gibson's in Chicago with clients, and someone recognized our last name and... Sarah, why didn't you tell us? Defense Meritorious Service Medal? That's not just some participation trophy. I looked it up. That's national level. What did you even do? I can't talk about it. Can't or won't. Can't, it's classified. Silence stretched between us. I heard background noise on her end. Clinking glasses, muted conversation. The ambient hum of an expensive steakhouse where people closed deals and celebrated promotions that came with corner offices and stock options. Finally, Mom and Dad are here. They want to talk to you. I need to go, Jen. Sarah, wait. I ended the call, set the phone face down on my lap, stared through the windshield at nothing in particular. This wasn't triumph. This was the moment I understood that they would never ask. They would only believe what appeared on screens, what strangers validated, what the world decided to show them. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I am a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force, and this is the story of how my family learned what I already knew. Silence is not absence. Silence is choice. The drawer came first. I was 11 years old, standing in our kitchen in Upper Arlington, a Columbus suburb where lawns stayed green and minivans lined driveways in neat rows. I held a certificate, edges sharp, paper thick with importance. State Science Fair, first place, my name printed in formal script beneath the seal. I'd spent 4 months on that project. Encryption algorithms, RSA methodology, how digital information could be locked and unlocked with mathematical keys. My teacher hadn't understood half of it. The judges awarded me $500 and this certificate and told my parents I had a rare gift. Dad sat in the living room watching the Ohio State game. I approached with the certificate held carefully in both hands. Dad, look, first place. He glanced over, nodded once. Good job, Sarah. His eyes returned to the television. Quarterback dropped back, threw deep. Dad leaned forward. I stood there another moment, waiting for something more. Some follow-up question about the project or the competition or what came next. Nothing came. Mom emerged from the kitchen, dish towel over her shoulder. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Should we put it on the refrigerator? Jennifer appeared at the top of the stairs, 14 and radiant in the way teenage girls can be when everything aligns just right. Hair perfect, makeup subtle but effective, headed to a school concert where she'd sing a solo that would make our parents weep with pride. I'm late. Someone needs to drive me. Mom touched my shoulder briefly. Put it anywhere safe, honey. We need to get your sister to school. They left. I stood in the kitchen holding my certificate, listening to the garage door close, the car back out, the house settle into quiet. Dad's voice drifted from the living room, cursing a referee's call. I walked to the hallway, opened the drawer where we kept things we might need someday, but probably wouldn't. Spare batteries, instruction manuals for appliances we'd replaced, expired coupons, takeout menus from restaurants that had closed. I slid the certificate inside. It fit perfectly between a Domino's flyer and a manual for a coffee maker we no longer owned. That night, I lay in bed and replayed the moment. Not the competition, not the judge's praise, just the sound of that drawer sliding shut, wood on wood, final and complete. Jennifer collected light. That's how I thought of it. Even then, she moved through rooms and people turned toward her, moths to flame, unable to help themselves. Confidence radiated from her like heat, and our parents built their world around that warmth. When she made the cheerleading squad freshman year, Dad bought her new pom-poms and drove her to every game. When she landed the lead in the spring musical, Mom attended every rehearsal, took photos, organized a cast party at our house that spilled into the backyard with 50 teenagers and a rented sound system. When she brought home a report card with 3 A's and 2 B's, they praised her effort, her balance, her ability to juggle so many activities while maintaining such strong grades. I brought home straight A's every semester. Perfect attendance, honor roll, national merit consideration. Dad would glance at my report card, nod, say something about keeping it up. Mom would smile, say she was proud, then immediately pivot to asking if I'd seen Jennifer's new art project, or heard about her scholarship application, or remembered that we needed to leave early for her volleyball tournament. I learned early, excellence expected is excellence invisible. The pattern calcified over years. Jennifer got into Ohio State with a partial scholarship, prompted a family celebration with relatives and neighbors filling our house, congratulations flowing like champagne. I got into the Air Force Academy with a full ride, 4 years paid, one of the most competitive acceptances in the country. Mom's first response, "Are you sure, honey? The military seems so far away and so intense." Dad's, "What do you do after you can't stay in the service forever?" Jennifer's, "You're going to wear a uniform every day? God, I'd die." No party, no celebration, just cautious concern and thinly veiled confusion about why I'd choose something so different from the path they understood. I stopped trying to explain, stopped translating my achievements into language they might value. I let them believe what they wanted, that I was the practical daughter, the steady one, the kid who didn't need much attention because I wasn't asking for it. They never considered that maybe I'd stopped asking because no one was listening. Mom died the summer before my senior year of high school. Cancer, fast and brutal. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. I was 17. Jennifer was 20, home from college for the summer. We held our hands in the hospital room while machines beeped and nurses checked monitors, and Dad stood at the window staring out at the parking lot like answers might be written on the pavement. Mom's last words to me, "You're going to do important things, Sarah. I know you will." She died at 4:47 in the morning. By noon, relatives had filled the house. By evening, casseroles crowded the kitchen counter. By the end of the week, Dad had already started talking about selling the house, moving somewhere smaller, starting fresh. I found the drawer one last time before we moved. Opened it in the empty hallway of our old house. Boxes stacked everywhere, rooms echoing. The certificate was still there. 11 years old, collecting dust between expired coupons and forgotten manuals. I took it out, looked at it, felt nothing. I left it in the drawer when we closed the house for the last time. The Air Force Academy rose from the Colorado landscape like something carved from stone and will. Sharp lines, impossible standards, no room for excuses or explanations. You met the mark or you didn't. I thrived. Basic training stripped away softness. Academic courses demanded precision. Physical requirements left no space for half effort. Every day measured, graded, recorded. For the first time in my life, the metrics were clear. Run 2 miles in 14 minutes. Score 90% on the engineering exam. Lead your squadron through the obstacle course without losing a single team member. I could see the target, I could hit it, and when I did, it mattered. My classmates came from everywhere. Inner city Detroit, rural Montana, military families spanning generations. First-generation immigrants chasing American dreams through service. We bunked together, studied together, ran until our lungs burned and our legs gave out. We learned to trust each other with things that mattered. None of them cared who my parents were or what my sister was doing. They cared if I could pull my weight, keep my word, show up when it counted. I chose intelligence as my specialty. 14N, the career field designation. Analysis, strategy, information warfare. I studied encryption, geopolitics, threat assessment. Learned Russian on my own time, sitting in my dorm room with language software and flashcards, building fluency that might someday matter. Senior year, I graduated distinguished graduate, top 10% of my class. My commissioning ceremony was in May, Colorado sunshine brilliant against academy grounds, families filling the stands. Dad came, Jennifer came. They took photos. Jennifer posted them on social media with captions about her little sister joining the military, hearts and flags and supportive emojis. Afterward, walking to the car, Dad asked when I planned to get out, transition to something more permanent. I didn't answer, just smiled, thanked them for coming. That night, alone in my room, I read the orders that would send me to my first duty station. Goodfellow Air Force Base, Texas. Intelligence training, then who knew where. I packed my life into 2 duffel bags and a backpack. Everything I owned, everything that mattered, fit easily. I left Colorado and never looked back. Years accumulated like layers of paint, thin, invisible individually, but building towards something solid. First assignment at Goodfellow, learning the technical craft. Second assignment in Germany, mastering operational tempo. Third at Langley, working joint operations with other agencies. I made captain ahead of schedule, then major. Evaluations consistently top tier. Commanders trusted me with complex problems. I delivered solutions quietly, efficiently, without needing recognition. The work itself became the reward. Puzzles solved, threats neutralized, information flowing to the right people at the right time. I called home every few weeks. Conversations followed predictable patterns. Mom asked if I was eating enough, sleeping enough, staying safe. Dad asked when I might consider civilian opportunities, mentioned companies hiring, suggested I network more. Jennifer talked about her career trajectory, promotions, projects, office politics that consumed her attention. No one asked what I actually did. When I tried to explain, eyes glazed. Intelligence work sounded abstract, bureaucratic. Jennifer once said it sounded like being a librarian, but with clearances. I stopped explaining. Let them assume what they wanted. At Thanksgiving dinners, when relatives asked about my career, Dad would say I worked in military administration. Mom would add that it was important but difficult to explain. Jennifer would steer conversation back to her world. Marketing campaigns, client meetings, corporate ladder climbing. I sat at those tables and ate turkey and nodded at appropriate moments and felt the distance grow. Not with anger, not with resentment, just with clarity. They couldn't see what they weren't looking for. And I'd grown tired of pointing. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning in September. Fluorescent lights humming overhead. Government-issued desk cluttered with folders and coffee cups in the detritus of routine. Subject line, official notification, promotion board results. I opened it without ceremony, scrolled to the relevant paragraph. Mitchell, Sarah E., Major, 04, to Lieutenant Colonel, 05. Effective date, December 1st, 2024, below the zone selection. I read it twice, set my phone down, stared at the wall. Below the zone meant early. 2 years ahead of standard timeline. Reserved for the top 5%, officers whose records stood out even among high performers. I was 34 years old. I would pin on 05 before most of my peers made 04. Kevin knocked on my doorframe, grinning. Yo, Mitchell, you see the list? Just now. Below the zone, holy hell, what did you do to deserve that? I shrugged, kept my face neutral. Just worked. He laughed. You're Buy you lunch to celebrate? Maybe tomorrow, still processing. He left. I sat in the quiet of my office, hands folded on my desk, letting the reality settle. This mattered. In the carefully calibrated hierarchy of military service, this was validation that couldn't be dismissed or minimized. I thought about calling my family, decided to wait until evening, give myself time to find the right words. I called Mom at 7. She answered on the 3rd ring, slightly breathless. Sarah, hi sweetie, how are you? Good, Mom, I have some news. Oh, what's that? I got promoted, Lieutenant Colonel. Silence, brief but noticeable. That's wonderful, honey. What does that mean exactly? I'd explained military ranks before, multiple times. It means 05. It's a significant step up. I was selected early, which is competitive. Oh, well, congratulations, that's great. Listen, I'm right in the middle of cooking dinner. Can I call you back later? Sure, Mom. She didn't call back. I texted Jennifer. Got promoted to Lieutenant Colonel, pretty big deal in AF terms. She responded 3 hours later. Nice, congrats, super busy with Q4 prep, talk soon. No follow-up questions. No curiosity about what it meant or why it mattered. Just acknowledgement, brief and bloodless, before returning to whatever actually held their attention. I set my phone aside, looked at the framed photo on my desk, my commissioning day, standing in dress blues, sword in hand, face serious. That version of me had believed that achievement would eventually speak loud enough to be heard. This version knew better. The second email came a week later. Subject: Quarterly Award Ceremony. Recognition required. Lieutenant Colonel, Select Mitchell. You have been selected to receive the Defense Meritorious Service Medal at the Quarterly Awards Banquet on November 15, 2024. This Joint Service Award recognizes exceptional contributions to national security operations. Ceremony will be recorded and broadcast per standard protocol. Family members are welcome to attend. I read it standing up, phone in hand, walking back from a meeting. Defense Meritorious Service Medal, DoD level recognition. Not Air Force, not command specific, Department of Defense. Only awarded for work that crossed service boundaries, impacted national interests, demonstrated exceptional skill under demanding circumstances. The reason sat in a classified folder I couldn't discuss. 18 months of work with NSA, FBI, Cyber Command, a threat network targeting U.S. electrical infrastructure. Russian-origin malware designed to cascade through power grids, create blackouts across 14 states, cause billions in damage and untold chaos. I'd been the lead analyst, built the models, cracked the encryption, traced the network back to its source, worked 100-hour weeks in windowless rooms, lived on coffee and determination, spoke to exactly 0 people about what consumed my days. We'd stopped it. 23 arrests, network dismantled, infrastructure secured. General Brooks had written my nomination package herself. I'd read it once, filed it away, tried not to think about the weight of what we'd prevented. Now it was being recognized, publicly, with a ceremony and a medal and my family invited to witness. I called Mom that evening, got straight to the point. I'm receiving an award, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, November 15th. It's a pretty significant recognition. Family can attend. Her voice brightened. Oh, that's wonderful. An award for what? I can't go into specifics. It's classified work, but it's national level. Important. Classified, like secret agent stuff. Sort of. Intelligence work. I've been working with other agencies on a project. Well, that sounds impressive. Let me check the calendar. I heard pages flipping. Mom still used a paper planner, wrote everything in careful print. Oh, November 15th. That's the same weekend as Jennifer's big presentation in Chicago. She's speaking to 200 clients at a conference. Her company is flying the whole family up to support her. My grip on the phone tightened. The whole family? Yes, your dad and I already booked flights. It's a really big deal for her career, Sarah. She's been stressed about it for months. This is a big deal for my career too, Mom. I know, honey, but you're in the military. They understand about family obligations, right? Jennifer's in the private sector. She really needs us there. I closed my eyes, counted to 5. What about Dad? Can he come? He's coming to Chicago too. He wants to take photos of Jennifer on stage. And you can't fly to Texas alone? You know I don't like flying by myself, Sarah. It makes me anxious. And this way the whole family can be together for Jennifer. The whole family, except me. I kept my voice even. I understand. You're not upset, are you? We love you so much, and I'm sure your award will be lovely. Maybe you can send us photos. Sure, Mom. Great, talk soon, sweetie. She hung up. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, staring at the blank television screen. Jennifer's presentation. Marketing, 200 clients, corporate success that fit neatly into narratives our parents understood. My medal, national security, classified operations. Work that literally protected millions of people from catastrophic harm. One mattered, one didn't. The calculus was simple. It had always been simple. I'd just been slow to accept it. 3 days before the ceremony, Dad called. Rare enough that I answered immediately, expecting emergency or illness. Sarah, listen, I've been thinking. About what? About this medal thing. Your mother feels bad about missing it. We both do. Hope flickered, small and cautious. You're coming? No, we can't change the flights, and Jennifer really needs our support. But I was thinking maybe we could do something when you're home for Christmas. Small celebration, cake, maybe some relatives. The hope died quickly. Sure, Dad. I know it's not the same as being there, but we're proud of you. You know that. Did I know that? Proud seemed like a word they'd learned to say, a script they followed when reminded of their obligations. I appreciate that. Good. So we'll plan something for December. Your mother will bake that cake you like. Sounds good. We talked for 2 more minutes. Weather, trivial updates, the easy nothing that filled space between people who'd forgotten how to connect. After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand and thought about my mother's promise to call back, about Jennifer's talk soon, about Dad's offer of cake in December. Empty words, comfortable lies we told to smooth over jagged edges. I'd been accepting those lies my entire life, nodding along, making it easy for them to look away. I arrived at the ceremony 90 minutes early. Dress blues perfect, every ribbon aligned, shoes polished to mirror shine. Lieutenant Colonel rank pinned carefully, still new enough to feel strange. The conference hall on base held probably 300 people. Families clustered in groups, civilians in their best clothes, children squirming in seats too big for them. Spouses adjusted their service members' uniforms, straightened ties, took pre-ceremony photos. I found my assigned seat in the third row. The chair beside me remained empty. Captain Rodriguez sat to my left, her husband and 2 kids in the row behind us. She leaned over, smiling. "Big day, ma'am. Your family running late?" "They couldn't make it. Prior commitment." Her smile faltered. "Oh, I'm sorry." "It's fine." She turned back to her husband, said something I couldn't hear. He glanced at me, expression sympathetic, then looked away. I checked my phone. Text from Jennifer, sent an hour ago. "Good luck today, knock 'em dead." No mention of why she wasn't here. No acknowledgement of the choice they'd made. The ceremony began at 1400 exactly. Colonel Miller took the podium, Air Force tall and command confident. "We gather today to recognize excellence. The men and women being honored this afternoon represent the finest our service has to offer. Many of them work in roles you'll never hear about, solving problems you'll never know existed, keeping this nation safe in ways that remain invisible to those they protect." His eyes scanned the room. "That invisibility is the price of their service. Today, we make them visible. Today, we say thank you." Names were called alphabetically. First Lieutenant Chen, Air Force Achievement Medal. Technical Sergeant Williams, Air Force Commendation Medal. Major Harris, Meritorious Service Medal. Applause followed each recipient. Cameras flashed. Families beamed. Then, Lieutenant Colonel Selectee Sarah Mitchell, Defense Meritorious Service Medal. I stood, walked to the stage. Colonel Miller shook my hand, solid and firm. He pinned the medal to my uniform, the weight of it surprising even though I'd held it before. Outstanding work, Colonel, truly exceptional." "Thank you, sir." He leaned closer, voice dropping. I read the citation. "What you did, most people will never understand. But it mattered." "I know, sir." The room applauded. I turned, faced the audience, saw hundreds of faces I didn't know, saw Captain Rodriguez's kids waving at me, saw the empty seats in the family section, saw Brigadier General Catherine Brooks, retired now but here as my guest, standing in the back row. She nodded once, eyes bright with something that looked like pride. I returned to my seat. The medal rested heavy on my chest. The ceremony continued. More names, more applause, more families celebrating their service members. I sat still and straight, hands folded in my lap, face composed. When it ended, people milled in the lobby. Cake was served, coffee flowed. I accepted congratulations from colleagues, made small talk, smiled appropriately. General Brooks found me near the exit. "Hell of a thing what you did." Her voice carried the rasp of 3 decades barking orders. "Saved a lot of lives, prevented massive chaos, and 99.9% of the country will never know your name." "That's the job, ma'am." "That it is. You okay? I noticed the empty seats." "Family obligation, they couldn't make it." She studied me. Former commanders developed the ability to read faces like operational reports, extracting truth from careful neutrality. "Their loss, you know that, right?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good, because what you did matters, Mitchell, whether they know it or not." She squeezed my shoulder once, then left. I walked to my car alone. The November evening had turned cool, sky darkening to deep blue. I sat behind the wheel, medal still on my chest, and stared at nothing. My phone buzzed. Text from Mom. "How was your ceremony? Jennifer's presentation went amazing. She got a standing ovation. Sending you pictures." 3 photos loaded. Jennifer on stage, confident and glowing. Jennifer with our parents, all of them beaming. Jennifer holding a glass of champagne, celebrating success in a world that valued what she offered. I looked at the medal on my chest, felt its weight, considered texting back. Instead, I started the car, drove home through quiet streets, hung my uniform carefully, set the medal on my dresser. At 2200, my phone lit up again. YouTube notification. Air Force Public Affairs had posted the ceremony video. Standard protocol, 12 minutes long, professional quality, my name in the title. I didn't watch it. I turned off the light. lay in the dark, listened to the bass beyond my window, distant jets, security vehicles, the mechanical hum of a life I'd chosen. Sleep came eventually, dreamless and complete. 2 days later, I woke to 127,000 views. 3 days later, 380,000. 4 days later, 627,000. Comments accumulated like snow. Veterans thanking me for service. Strangers expressing pride in military they'd never served. Someone asking what the medal was for. Others explaining that DoD-level awards meant serious business. Then, buried in the thread, a comment that changed everything. Isn't this the lieutenant colonel that General Brooks mentioned on CNN last night? I clicked the link. CNN clip. 3 minutes. General Catherine Brooks interviewed about cyber threats and infrastructure protection. The anchor asked about success stories, classified operations that had prevented disasters. Brooks, careful with details but clear in praise. I can't discuss specifics, but I will say that Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell's work prevented what could have been the most catastrophic attack on American infrastructure in decades. Her analytical brilliance saved billions in damage and likely countless lives. She's exactly the kind of officer we need more of. The anchor pressed for details. Brooks deflected professionally, pivoted to broader points about cybersecurity, but she'd said my name on national television, with specific praise that contextualized what the medal represented. The video had 1.2 million views, comments flooding in. Someone had already cross-referenced with the ceremony video, confirmed it was the same person. My phone rang, Jennifer. I let it ring 3 times before answering. And that's when everything changed. Jennifer's voice carried that particular edge I'd learned to recognize over decades. Confusion wrapped in accusation, hurt masquerading as anger.
You're on CNN, Sarah. Actual CNN. General Brooks called you a hero. She said you prevented a catastrophic infrastructure attack. What the hell have you been doing?
I stood in my kitchen, still in civilian clothes from the gym, coffee halfway to my lips. Through the window, San Antonio morning light painted everything gold. I told you, classified work. You said you did intelligence analysis. You made it sound like, I don't know, spreadsheets or something, not preventing national disasters. It's still analysis. Don't. Her voice sharpened. Don't minimize this. We just watched a retired general tell Anderson Cooper that you saved billions of dollars and countless lives. Mom's sitting here crying. Dad looks like someone punched him. Good, I almost said, caught myself. Where are you? Chicago. At the hotel. We were having breakfast before Jen's presentation, and someone from her company had CNN on, and then she stopped. I heard muffled conversation in the background. Dad wants to talk to you. Before I could respond, my father's voice filled the line. Sarah, what is this about? Exactly what General Brooks said. I worked on a classified operation. It's over now. That's why it can be discussed publicly, at least in general terms. Why didn't you tell us? I tried. You didn't ask questions. Silence. Heavy, uncomfortable. Your mother's very upset. Upset that I did my job? Upset that we didn't know, that we weren't there, that we found out from CNN like strangers. I set my coffee down, gripped the counter edge. You were invited to the ceremony. You chose Jennifer's presentation. We didn't know. You didn't ask. There's a difference. More background noise. Jennifer's voice, urgent. Dad, my presentation starts in 40 minutes. We need to go. Dad's voice muffled, hand over the phone, then back. We'll talk about this later, when you're calmer. When I'm calmer, as if I was the one having an emotional reaction. Sure, Dad. He hung up. I stood in my kitchen, phone in hand, coffee going cold. Outside, the neighborhood woke slowly. Joggers, dog walkers, the rhythmic whir of sprinklers. My phone buzzed again. Text from Mom. Why didn't you tell us you were doing something so important? We would have come if we'd known. I stared at the message, typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on. You were invited. You chose not to come. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. We thought it was just a regular award. You didn't explain. My jaw tightened. I didn't respond. By noon, the ceremony video had passed 1 million views. Comment sections filled with strangers who understood what my family hadn't. Defense Meritorious Service Medal meant something. Work that earned DoD recognition mattered. Veterans tagged other veterans. Active duty shared with their units. Someone made a compilation. General Brooks's CNN interview spliced with clips from my ceremony, my name and rank superimposed, dramatic music underneath. That version got 2 million views in 6 hours. My email inbox exploded. Congratulations from old academy classmates, messages from former commanders, notes from people I'd worked with years ago, saying they always knew I'd do great things. Kevin stopped by my office mid-afternoon. Dude, you're famous. I'm not famous. You're famous adjacent. Have you seen Twitter? I don't have Twitter. Smart woman. But trust me, you're trending. People are calling you Captain America. I looked up from my computer. Please tell me you're joking. I'm not. There's literally a hashtag. Hashtag CyberCaptainAmerica. I dropped my head to my desk. Make it stop. Kevin laughed. Too late. You're a folk hero now. Embrace it. He left. I returned to actual work. Intelligence reports, threat assessments, the unglamorous reality of my job that had nothing to do with hashtags or viral videos. My phone rang. General Brooks. Colonel Mitchell, you've had quite a week. Yes, ma'am, I apologize if my family… Stop. Your family's reaction isn't your responsibility. I called because I wanted you to know. The interview was deliberate. I chose to name you specifically. I sat up straighter. Ma'am, you did exceptional work. You deserve recognition. And frankly, the Air Force needs more officers like you visible in the public eye. Women in intelligence, women in leadership, women doing complex technical work that saves lives. I wanted people to see that. I appreciate that, ma'am, though I'm not sure I want to be visible. Too late, but you'll handle it. You've handled everything else with grace. She paused. How's your family taking it? They're processing. Translation, they're upset they didn't know. Something like that. Let me give you some unsolicited advice, Colonel. People who can't see your value when it's in front of them won't magically appreciate it when strangers validate it. They'll just resent the strangers for noticing what they missed. The words hit clean and true. Yes, ma'am. You did good work. Don't let anyone diminish that. Not even family. After we hung up, I sat in my office and thought about visibility. About choosing to be seen versus being forced into light. My entire career I'd operated in shadows. Preferred it. Found satisfaction in work that mattered without needing applause. Now the light was here whether I wanted it or not. And my family, who'd ignored me in darkness, suddenly demanded explanations for why they hadn't been invited to the stage. Thanksgiving arrived 2 weeks later. I'd planned to skip it, claim work obligations, avoid the inevitable confrontation. Mom called 3 days before. You're coming home for Thanksgiving, right? I was thinking I'd stay here, long weekend, catch up on… Sarah, please, we need to talk, as a family. About what? About everything, about your career, about us not being there, about… She paused. We miss you. Please come home. The please landed different this time, less automatic, more genuine. I'll think about it. Your father and I have been doing a lot of thinking. About priorities, about how we haven't been as present as we should have been. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to hear contrition and change. But years of disappointment had taught me caution. I said I'll think about it, Mom. Okay, let me know soon so I can plan the meal. I flew to Columbus on Wednesday evening, rented a car at the airport, drove through familiar streets now decorated for the holidays. My childhood neighborhood looked smaller, older, like returning to a place remembered mostly through photographs. Dad answered the door, hugged me briefly, awkwardly. Good to see you, kiddo. You too, Dad. Mom appeared, pulled me into a longer embrace. I'm so glad you came. Jennifer arrived an hour later with her boyfriend Brandon, a finance guy I'd met twice at previous holidays. He shook my hand with the overly firm grip of men trying to prove something. Sarah, or should I say Lieutenant Colonel, quite the title. Sarah's fine. Impressive stuff what you did. Jen's been telling me about the CNN thing. Must feel good to finally get recognition. Finally, as if everything before this moment hadn't counted. Dinner started normally enough. Turkey, stuffing, the traditional dishes Mom made every year. Conversation stayed light. Weather, traffic, Brandon's promotion at his firm. Then Dad cleared his throat. Sarah, we wanted to talk about your ceremony. I set down my fork. Okay. We're sorry we weren't there. Mom's eyes were already wet. If we'd known how important it was. I told you it was important, but you didn't explain. You said it was an award, and we thought… She trailed off. You thought it was small, I finished, like everything else I've done. Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. That's not fair, isn't it? When I got into the academy, you asked why I was joining the military. When I made captain, you asked when I was getting out. When I made major, you were planning your engagement party and forgot to call back. Sarah, Dad started. No. You said you wanted to talk, so let's talk. I kept my voice level, calm. I've spent my entire life watching you celebrate Jennifer's achievements while treating mine like footnotes. And I accepted it. I stopped expecting different because expecting hurt too much. We're proud of you, Mom said quickly. Are you? Because it feels like you're embarrassed you didn't know. Like you're upset that strangers understood my work's importance before you did. That's not true, Jennifer said, but her voice lacked conviction. I looked at her directly. You've known I'm in intelligence for 10 years. You've never once asked what that means. Never asked what my days look like, what kind of problems I solve, why I chose this career. You just assumed it was boring because it didn't make sense to you. I ask about your life, she protested. You ask if I'm dating anyone. You ask if I've thought about settling down. You ask when I'm moving somewhere more interesting than Texas. You've never asked about my work? Silence settled over the table. Brandon studied his plate. Dad looked at his hands. Mom spoke softly. You're right. We didn't ask. We should have. Should have isn't the same as did. So what do you want from us? Jennifer's frustration surfaced. An apology? We're sorry. We messed up. We're trying to fix it now. I don't want anything. The truth of it surprised me even as I said it. I used to want you to see me, to value what I do, to show up. But I've built a life where that doesn't matter anymore. My commanders see my work. My peers respect my contributions. I've found my place. And it's not here. Sarah, Mom's voice broke. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it because it's true. You can't love someone's success after ignoring their journey. It doesn't work that way. Dad finally spoke. We're your family. Family shows up. Family asks questions. Family celebrates achievements even when they don't understand them. I stood. I'll help with dishes, then I need to go. Go where? Mom asked. Hotel. I booked a room. You're staying at a hotel in your own hometown? This hasn't been my home in a long time, Mom. I carried plates to the kitchen, washed them methodically while conversation drifted from the dining room. Urgent whispers, Jennifer's voice rising, Mom crying softly. Brandon found me at the sink. That was harsh. That was honest. Your family loves you. I know, but love without presence is just a word. He left. I finished the dishes, dried them, put them away in cabinets I'd known since childhood. When I returned to the dining room, everyone sat silent. Thank you for dinner, Mom. It was excellent as always. Please don't leave like this, she said. I'm not leaving angry. I'm leaving clear. I picked up my jacket. I'll see you at Christmas if you want. Or not. Either way, I'm okay. I walked to the door. Dad followed. Sarah, wait. We want to do better. Tell us how. I turned. Start by asking questions. Real ones. About my work, my life, what matters to me. And when I answer, actually listen. Don't wait for your turn to talk about Jennifer's career or Brandon's promotion or whatever's more interesting to you. We can do that. Maybe. We'll see. I left. Drove to the hotel, checked in, lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. Jennifer, you didn't have to embarrass us like that in front of Brandon. I typed back. I didn't embarrass you. I told the truth. If that feels like embarrassment, maybe examine why. She didn't respond. December brought winter to Texas. Pale sunlight and temperatures that barely qualified as cold. I threw myself into work. New projects, training programs, mentorship of junior officers. The viral attention faded. View counts plateaued. Comments slowed. The internet moved on to other stories, other heroes, other causes. My family stayed quiet. No calls, no texts, radio silence. I told myself I didn't mind. Told myself the space was healthy, necessary, earned. Mostly I believed it. Christmas approached. I made plans to stay in San Antonio, volunteer at the base for holiday duty, give married officers time with their families. Then, 2 weeks before Christmas, a FedEx envelope arrived at my office. Heavy, official, return address, Mitchell family, Columbus, Ohio. I opened it carefully. Inside, a letter handwritten, Mom's careful cursive. Dear Sarah, I've started this letter 12 times, thrown away 11 versions. This is the 12th attempt. Bear with me. You were right about all of it. Your father and I have spent the last month really looking at how we've treated you over the years, really examining our choices. And we're ashamed. We favored Jennifer, not consciously, not maliciously, but consistently. We celebrated her because her success looked like success we understood. Visible, social, measured in promotions and salaries and job titles we could explain to friends. Your success looked different, quieter, more complex, and instead of taking time to understand it, we dismissed it as less important. That was wrong. You joined the Air Force, and we asked when you were getting out, as if serving your country was a phase to outgrow. You earned promotions, and we nodded politely, as if climbing one of the most competitive career ladders in America was unremarkable. You were doing classified work that protected millions of people, and we assumed you were filing paperwork. We failed you, repeatedly, for years. I can't undo that. Can't reclaim the moments we should have celebrated. Can't attend the ceremonies we missed. Can't ask the questions we should have asked a decade ago. But I can do better now, if you'll let me. I found the certificate. From the science fair when you were 11. It was still in that drawer when we sold the house. I kept it. I don't know why. Maybe because even then, some part of me knew I'd made a mistake putting it there. I framed it. It's hanging in our living room now, right next to Jennifer's college diploma and your father's engineering awards, where it should have been all along. It's not enough, I know that, but it's a start. If you're willing, we'd like you to come home for Christmas. Not to apologize more, though we will, but to try again. To ask the questions we should have asked. To listen the way we should have listened. To see you the way we should have been seeing you all along. You don't owe us this. You don't owe us anything. But we're asking anyway. With love and regret, Mom. I read it 3 times, set it on my desk, stared out the window at the Texas sky. Sincerity bled through every line. But sincerity after years of neglect felt complicated. Raw, unresolved. I thought about General Brooks's warning. People who can't see your value when it's in front of them won't magically appreciate it when strangers validate it. But maybe, sometimes people grew. Sometimes shame led to actual change rather than just performative apology. I picked up my phone, called Mom. She answered on the first ring. Sarah, I got your letter. And? I'll come for Christmas. 2 days. That's all I'm committing to. 2 days is enough. More than enough. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Mom. I'm coming, but I'm not pretending the last 20 years didn't happen. I wouldn't want you to. We need to face it. Face what we did. After we hung up, I sat in my office and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Cautious hope. Not expectation. Not certainty. Just the quiet possibility that maybe, finally, they were ready to see who I actually was. Christmas in Columbus arrived cold and bright. Snow covered the ground, clean and white, erasing the familiar landscape into something new. I flew in Christmas Eve morning. Dad picked me up from the airport. The drive to their house stretched awkward but not hostile. How was your flight? Fine, on time. Good. Silence. Then, I've been reading about intelligence work, what you do. I didn't understand before how complex it is, how important. I glanced at him. Yeah? I read an article about the NSA, about cyber warfare, about how analysts like you are basically defending the country from invisible attacks every day. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. I'm sorry I called it paperwork. You didn't know? I should have asked. You should have. We pulled into the driveway. The house looked the same. 2 stories, neat lawn, Christmas lights outlining the roofline. Inside, Mom had decorated with her usual care. Tree in the corner, garland over the fireplace, stockings hung with our names embroidered. And there, on the wall between Jennifer's diploma and Dad's engineering achievement plaque, my science fair certificate, professionally framed, placed prominently. I stopped, stared at it. Mom appeared beside me. I know it's late, 13 years too late, but I wanted you to see. I traced the frame's edge with my finger. It's good to see it on a wall instead of in a drawer. It never should have been in that drawer. Jennifer arrived that evening with Brandon. Dinner unfolded carefully, everyone watching their words, trying hard, the effort visible and earnest. After the meal, Dad brought out a box, set it on the table. We made this for you. I opened it. Inside, a scrapbook. Thick, leather-bound pages filled with articles, photos, printouts. Every news article about my academy acceptance, my commissioning announcement, photos from my various assignments, commendation copies, screenshots of the viral video, the CNN interview transcript, printouts of comments from the ceremony video, strangers praising my service. Mom had assembled everything she could find, organized it chronologically, added handwritten notes in the margins. We should have made a bigger deal of this, next to my academy acceptance. I wish I'd been there, beside my commissioning photo. I turned pages slowly. Years of my life, documented and assembled with care that came too late but mattered anyway. The last page held a new photo, my family at Thanksgiving. But someone had added text underneath, handwritten, the daughter we failed to see, the officer who served anyway, the woman we're finally learning to appreciate. My throat tightened. It's not enough, Jennifer said quietly. I know it's not, but we're trying. I closed the scrapbook, looked at them, Mom, Dad, Jennifer, even Brandon, all watching me with faces that held regret and hope in equal measure. It's a start, I said. Mom exhaled. A start is all we're asking for. We spent Christmas Day differently than any previous year. They asked questions, real ones, about my work within the bounds of what I could discuss, about intelligence operations, career progression, what I wanted from the next 10 years. They listened, actually listened, didn't interrupt to compare to Jennifer's career, didn't suggest I transition to civilian work, just heard me. It felt strange, new, like learning to speak a language I'd given up on. On my last evening there, Dad pulled me aside. I read that over 90% of officers don't make lieutenant colonel, that your promotion, being below the zone, puts you in the top 5% of the top 10% who even become officers. That's about right. I'm sorry I asked when you were getting out. I know, Dad. Dad? No, I mean, he struggled with words. I'm sorry I spent your entire life asking when you'd become something else instead of appreciating what you were becoming. I met his eyes, saw genuine remorse there. Thank you for saying that. He nodded, cleared his throat, changed the subject to something safer, but the words stayed with me. I flew back to Texas the day after Christmas, sat on the plane and thought about what had changed and what hadn't. They were trying, genuinely. But trying after years of neglect didn't erase the neglect, didn't undo the loneliness of ceremonies attended alone, achievements celebrated in empty rooms, career milestones marked in silence. But maybe trying mattered anyway. My phone buzzed as we landed. Email from General Brooks. Subject, opportunity. Colonel Mitchell, I hope you had a good holiday. I'm reaching out because I've been asked to recommend officers for a position at the Pentagon. Strategic Intelligence Planning, National Security Council adjacent. Direct impact on policy. It's 06 equivalent work, meaning you'd be pinning colonel within 2 years, maximum. Highly visible, highly impactful. Exactly the kind of role where officers like you can shape the future of how we approach threats. Interested? I read it twice. Pentagon, colonel within 2 years, policy work at the highest levels. Everything I'd worked for. Everything my career had been building toward. I looked out the window at San Antonio spreading below. Base, neighborhoods, the life I'd built in quiet competence. Typed back, very interested, let's talk details. Sent it, leaned back in my seat. Forward momentum, always forward. The plane touched down. I gathered my bags, walked through the airport toward whatever came next. Behind me, family finally learning to see me. Ahead, opportunities earned through years they'd never understand. And in between, me, clear and steady, no longer waiting for permission to matter. The Pentagon letter arrived in February, official seal heavy on cream stationery. I opened it in my office with the door closed, light streaming through Venetian blinds. Colonel, promotable, Sarah E. Mitchell. You are hereby invited to interview for the position of Strategic Intelligence Advisor, National Security Council Support Division. Interview scheduled 15th of March 2025 at Pentagon, Arlington, Virginia. This position carries 06 equivalent responsibilities with promotion to colonel anticipated within 24 months of assignment. I set the letter down, looked at my reflection in the dark computer screen. 34 years old, lieutenant colonel for 3 months, being considered for work that would make me colonel before I turned 37. Exceptional trajectory, career achievement most officers spent 20 years chasing. I called General Brooks. Mitchell, you got the letter? Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the recommendation. Don't thank me. You earned it. The interview is formality. They've already decided they want you. But you need to show up, be yourself, convince them you can handle the political complexity. Political complexity isn't my strength. She laughed, rough and knowing. You've been navigating family politics your whole life. You'll be fine. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet and thought about what this meant. Pentagon meant Washington, meant visibility, meant work that shaped policy instead of just executing it, meant leaving San Antonio, leaving the anonymity I'd built my career in. But also, Meant advancement, meant impact, meant everything I'd worked toward. I drafted an email to my parents, deleted it, tried again, finally settled on simple. Got invited to interview for Pentagon position. Would mean promotion to colonel within 2 years and move to DC area. Big opportunity. Mom called 30 seconds after I hit send. Pentagon, Sarah, that's incredible. It's just an interview. But they invited you, they want you. Oh my God, my daughter might work at the Pentagon. I heard pride in her voice, real pride, the kind that didn't need CNN to validate it. It's not final yet, Mom. It will be. I know it will be. When's the interview? March 15th? Can we support you? I paused. It's just an interview, not a ceremony. I know, but we could be there anyway. Take you to dinner after. Celebrate regardless of outcome. Something in my chest loosened. You'd fly to DC for an interview? We'd fly to DC for you, interview or not. Let me think about it. Okay, but Sarah, we're so proud, really genuinely proud. After she hung up, I sat with those words, let them settle, tested them for weight and truth. They felt real. Jennifer called that evening. I almost didn't answer, still uncertain about where we stood after the awkward Christmas détente. Hey, Mom told me about the Pentagon thing. Congrats. Thanks. Listen, I need to tell you something, and I should have told you years ago. I braced myself. Okay. You remember when I did my MBA 4 years ago? Yeah, you were at Northwestern. Good program. Really expensive program, like $120,000 total. I had some savings, some student loans, but I was short about $23,000 for the last semester. If I didn't pay it, I couldn't graduate. I said nothing, waited. I was panicking. Applied for private loans, got rejected. Asked Mom and Dad, they said they'd already helped with undergrad and couldn't swing it. I was going to have to drop out, reapply later, lose a year. I remember you graduated on time. Yeah, because someone paid it, anonymous donation through the university. They wouldn't tell me who, privacy rules, but I knew. I knew it was you. My throat tightened. Jen, don't. Let me finish. I knew because Mom mentioned you'd gotten some kind of bonus or back pay, something like $30,000. And then suddenly my tuition was paid. And I never said thank you, because saying thank you meant admitting I knew. Meant admitting you'd saved my degree while I was still making jokes about your job being boring. Silence stretched between us. I don't want thanks, I said finally. I know, but you deserve it anyway. You paid for my MBA, the degree that got me my current job, the career I'm always going on about. And I never acknowledged it. Never told Mom and Dad. Never admitted that my success was partially built on your sacrifice. Why are you telling me now? Because I'm tired of being the person who takes without recognizing it. Because you deserve better from me. From all of us. She paused. I'm sorry, Sarah. For everything. For being the golden child who never questioned why you were invisible. For not defending you. For not asking questions about your life because I was too wrapped up in mine. I closed my eyes. I know. Do you forgive me? I'm working on it. That's fair. That's more than fair. We talked for another 20 minutes. Really talked. About her career, her relationship with Brandon, her own insecurities about measuring up to an image our parents had built of her. About my career, my hesitations about the Pentagon, my uncertainty about whether I could trust our family's sudden interest. Sisters, I thought. Maybe for the first time in years, actually sisters. March arrived with unseasonable warmth. I flew to DC 3 days before the interview, gave myself time to acclimate and prepare. The Pentagon rose from Virginia landscape, massive and imposing, 5 sides of concentrated power and bureaucracy. I'd been here before for briefings, but never as a candidate, never as someone they wanted. The interview panel consisted of 2 colonels, a Navy captain, and a civilian deputy assistant secretary. They asked about my intelligence background, my analytical methodology, my approach to multi-agency coordination. I answered honestly, directly, without trying to soften or spin. Colonel Harris, Army, late 50s, eyes sharp. Your record shows you prefer to work behind the scenes. This role requires visibility. Congressional briefings, interagency meetings, public testimony. How do you feel about that? Uncomfortable, I said, but capable. I've spent my career in the shadows because that's where intelligence work happens. But I understand the Pentagon needs officers who can translate complex analysis into policy recommendations. I can do that. Even if it means attention? I've had recent experience with unwanted attention. I managed it. I'll manage this. Slight smiles around the table. Captain Reeves, Navy, early 40s, thoughtful. What concerns you most about this role? Political pressure to adjust findings. Intelligence should inform policy, not serve it. I'm concerned about maintaining objectivity in an environment where conclusions have political implications. How would you handle pressure to change an assessment? Document everything, stand by my analysis, escalate if necessary. I work for the mission, not for political convenience. More smiles, approving nods. The interview lasted 90 minutes, ended with handshakes and, "We'll be in touch soon." I left feeling steady, not certain, but confident I'd represented myself honestly. Mom and Dad waited in the hotel lobby. They'd flown in that morning, checked into a hotel near mine, spent the day exploring DC while I interviewed. How'd it go? Dad stood as I approached. Good, I think, hard to tell. I'm sure you were great. Mom hugged me. We're taking you to dinner. Reservations at 7. We ate at a steakhouse in Georgetown. Real conversation, easy and genuine. They asked about the interview, about my thoughts on DC, about what the job would mean. Didn't compare to Jennifer's career. Didn't suggest I consider other options. Just listened and engaged. Over dessert, Dad pulled out his phone. I want to show you something. He opened Facebook, his profile. I rarely looked at it. Dad's social media presence consisted mostly of golf scores and shared news articles. But his latest post from that morning, photo of the Pentagon, taken from across the river. Caption: waiting while my daughter Sarah interviews for a senior intelligence position. Couldn't be prouder of Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell. She's been protecting this country in ways I never understood. Starting to understand now. 200 likes, dozens of comments from his friends, colleagues, relatives, congratulations, praise, questions about my career. Dad responding to each one with details about my service, my medals, my achievements. I should have posted things like this years ago, he said quietly. Should have told people what you were doing. Been proud publicly instead of just privately. Were you proud privately? I told myself I was, but honest, I think I was confused. Your career didn't fit the path I understood, so instead of learning about it, I dismissed it. That was wrong. Mom touched my hand. We're learning, slowly, clumsily, but we're trying. I see that. The check came. Dad paid despite my protests. We walked back to the hotels through Georgetown streets, early spring air cool and promising. At the corner, Mom hugged me goodnight. Whatever happens with the job, we're proud, not of the title or the position. Of you, of who you've become despite us not always supporting it. After they left, I walked alone for another hour, past monuments, memorials, the endless stone and marble of American power, thought about trajectories, about the distance between who my family thought I was and who I'd actually become, about whether that distance could ever fully close. The offer came 2 weeks later, email, then phone call, then official letter. They wanted me. Pentagon Strategic Intelligence Advisor. Start date, June 1st, 2025. Promotion to 06, anticipated December 2026. I accepted. Gave notice to my current command. Started the complex process of preparing for transition. Housing, clearances, handoff of current projects. The months between acceptance and departure moved quickly. Packing, processing. Farewell lunches with colleagues who'd become friends. Kevin threw me a going-away party at a bar near base. 30 people showed up, officers I'd worked with, enlisted troops I'd mentored, civilians from various offices. Speech, someone shouted. I stood reluctantly. I'm terrible at speeches. Do it anyway. I looked around the room. Faces I'd worked alongside for years. People who'd seen my value without needing viral videos or CNN interviews. Thank you for making this assignment meaningful, for trusting me with hard problems, for showing up when it mattered. I raised my beer. The mission continues, just without me getting in your way. Laughter, applause. Kevin hugged me hard enough to crack ribs. Pentagon's lucky to have you, Mitchell. Don't let those desk jockeys dull your edge. I'll try not to. Later, walking to my car, I thought about edges, about the sharpness I'd maintained through years of being overlooked. That edge had served me well, kept me focused, kept me moving forward. But maybe I could afford to soften it slightly now. Let people in. Trust that being seen wouldn't make me weak. I moved to DC in late May, found an apartment in Arlington, close enough to the Pentagon for an easy commute. Unpacked boxes, hung pictures, made the space mine. My family visited for the 4th of July weekend. We did tourist things, monuments, museums, dinner at restaurants along the waterfront, normal family activities. the kind I'd never really had growing up. Jennifer and Brandon were talking about marriage. Mom was considering volunteer work at a local school. Dad had joined a book club, was reading military history for the first time. They were growing, changing, meeting me where I'd been all along. On my last evening before starting at the Pentagon, we sat on my apartment balcony watching fireworks over the mall, red and white bloomed against black sky, reflecting off the Potomac. Are you nervous, Mom? A little. It's a big job. You'll be great. She squeezed my hand. You always are. Even when you didn't notice? She flinched slightly. Especially then. The fireworks continued, brilliant and temporary, lighting the darkness for brief moments before fading. I'm sorry it took so long, she said softly. Sorry we needed strangers to tell us what we should have seen ourselves. I know. Do you forgive us? I thought about it. Really thought. I'm getting there. It's not instant, but I'm getting there. That's all we can ask. The finale began. Rapid bursts, cascading light, the grand spectacle that signaled the end. We watched in silence until the last spark fell. My first year at the Pentagon passed in a blur of briefings, reports, interagency meetings. The work was exactly as complex and demanding as promised. I thrived. The promotion to colonel came in December 2026, right on schedule. They held the ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery, symbolic and profound. My family came. But also former commanders, colleagues from various assignments, young officers I'd mentored over the years. General Brooks, now fully retired but still sharp as ever, spoke. Colonel Sarah Mitchell represents what military service should be: excellence without ego, leadership without glory-seeking, service without needing recognition. She has protected this nation in ways most will never know, advanced intelligence capabilities that will serve us for decades, and mentored countless officers who will carry her example forward. She paused, looked directly at me. She also represents something else: the power of perseverance, of building a life that matters despite obstacles, of refusing to shrink because others can't see your value. That lesson transcends military service. It's a lesson about human dignity. Applause echoed across the cemetery grounds. After the ceremony, we gathered at a restaurant in Old Town Alexandria. 25 people, family, colleagues, friends from various chapters of my life. Dad stood to make a toast. His hand shook slightly as he raised his glass. I'm going to tell you something I should have said 30 years ago. He looked at me. When Sarah was 11 years old, she won a state science fair. First place, $500 prize, a real achievement. He paused, swallowed hard. I put her certificate in a drawer, the junk drawer, with expired coupons and dead batteries. And that moment, that single moment, became a metaphor for how we treated her for the next 2 decades. Mom wiped her eyes. Jennifer looked down at her plate. She achieved, we dismissed. She excelled, we overlooked. She served, we questioned. We had a daughter who was protecting our nation, saving lives, doing work of genuine importance, and we treated it like a hobby, like something she'd outgrow. His voice thickened. I can't undo that, can't reclaim those years, can't attend the ceremonies we missed or ask the questions we should have asked. But I can stand here now and say what I should have said every single day. Sarah, you are remarkable, not because of your rank or your medals or your Pentagon position, because of who you are, how you carry yourself, the integrity you've shown even when we didn't deserve it. He raised his glass higher. To my daughter, who succeeded despite us, not because of us, who taught us that love requires presence, not just words, who showed us what real strength looks like. To Sarah, everyone echoed. I stood, felt their eyes on me, felt the weight of the moment. Thank you for being here, for seeing me, for showing up. I looked at my family specifically. I won't pretend the past didn't happen. Won't say it doesn't matter. Those years shaped me, made me stronger, yes, but also lonelier, made me doubt whether I mattered to the people who should have cared most. Mom started to speak. I held up my hand gently. But I also won't stay stuck in that hurt. You're trying now, really trying, showing up, asking questions, being present. That matters too. So we move forward, not forgetting, but also not dwelling, building something new from what's left. I raised my own glass. To families that choose to see each other, to second chances, to the hard work of reconciliation. We drank, ate, talked late into the evening. Later, walking to my car, Dad caught up with me. I found something last week. Was cleaning out old boxes. He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. My science fair certificate, the one from the drawer. He'd had it professionally restored, reframed. It's hanging in my office now, next to my engineering degree, where it should have been all along. I looked at the photo, felt something release in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, that was still coming, slowly, carefully, but maybe the beginning of it. Thank you, Dad. It's not enough, I know that, but it's a start. Start is all we need. He hugged me, held on longer than usual. I'm proud of you, so incredibly proud. I know, and I did. Finally. Not because he said it, but because he'd shown it. Consistently, over months, through actions instead of just words. We separated. I drove home through DC streets, monuments lit against the night sky. Thought about the drawer, about the certificate that had sat there for years, gathering dust between forgotten things. That drawer was still there in memory, would always be there. But it no longer defined me. I'd built a life so far beyond that drawer that it couldn't contain me anymore. Built a career that mattered, relationships that sustained me. A sense of self that didn't require external validation. The drawer had taught me something important. Some people won't see your value until forced to. Some families won't notice what they have until strangers point it out. But that wasn't my failure. That was theirs. My success, my real success, was building a life where their oversight didn't diminish my worth. 2 months later, I stood in my Pentagon office on a Friday evening. Most people had left. The building held that particular quiet that comes after bustling. My phone rang. Mom. Hey, sweetheart, just calling to check in. How was your week? We talked for 20 minutes. She asked about work, within the bounds of what I could discuss. Asked about my personal life, my apartment, whether I'd found any good restaurants nearby. Normal mother-daughter conversation, the kind I'd never really had before. Before hanging up, she said, I love you, and I'm proud of you. Just wanted you to know. I know, Mom. Love you too. After we disconnected, I sat in the quiet office and felt something settle. This was enough. This presence, this attention, this genuine interest. Not perfect. Still marked by the scars of years spent invisible. But real. Growing, moving forward. I gathered my things, locked my office, walked through Pentagon corridors toward the exit. Outside, spring evening, warm and promising. Cherry blossoms drifted on the breeze. The city hummed with energy and purpose. I had dinner plans with Jennifer and Brandon. Tomorrow, brunch with former academy classmates now stationed nearby. Sunday, a quiet day to myself. Running, reading, rest. A life, full and complete. Built not in reaction to being overlooked, but in service to values I'd chosen. I thought about 11-year-old me, standing in that kitchen, certificate in hand, waiting for someone to notice. If I could speak to her now, I wouldn't tell her to try harder. Wouldn't tell her to make herself bigger or louder or impossible to ignore. I'd tell her this: you are enough, exactly as you are. And the people who can't see that, that's their limitation, not yours. Build your life anyway, serve anyway, shine anyway. And one day, maybe years from now, maybe never, they'll finally look, they'll finally see. And if they do, you'll be gracious, you'll accept their presence, but you won't need their approval. Because you'll have already built something far more valuable, a life that matters because you chose it. Not because anyone granted permission. I walked to my car, drove toward dinner, toward family, toward an evening of ordinary connection that once felt impossible. The drawer was still there, would always be there, but I'd moved beyond it. And that was enough. That was everything.